All right, welcome, folks. I know it's right and want to be mindful of your time. I think I know most all of the faces that are coming in via Zoom today, and it's really great to have such a great wide sector of our soil and water districts represented. But if you don't know me, I'm the executive director of the Association of Soil and Water Districts. Part of our charge is to try to help provide training opportunities and support to districts. And during a session back this spring where we had Blair Gordon with DCR talking about the DCR desktop fiscal guide for districts to follow, there was some guidance in there about how districts should really lean in and learn more about LGIP and use this as an opportunity. So we took that and ran because so many of you had questions on the call, and Treasury has been so kind to set this up for today to really give you a good overview of not only their circular, but what opportunity there really is for soil and water districts to participate. So on that note, we do want to be a little informal. We've got a good group of friends, but I recognize there's over 40 of you on the line. So if you don't mind, use your chat box. Try to stay on mute for us to cut back on that background feedback. Use your chat box to drop any questions you might have along the way, but also feel free to come off mute and ask Judy and her team. Like I said, she's brought a lot of great resources to this session today. Any questions you have, I'm really hoping we can have a robust conversation also. So with that, I really want to introduce Judy Milliron. She's the investment operations manager with Virginia Treasury, who's going to be our key speaker today. We'll be tapping into, I believe, Stacy Piercy and others to give guidance to districts. So please join me in welcoming her. I'll keep an eye on the chat box for you, Judy, and may interrupt before you get too far in case we have some of those clarifying questions, but hope we'll build in some time at the end too for discussion.
Okay, sure. It's my pleasure to be here today with you, and I am here with my esteemed colleagues as well in the cash management and investment section of Treasury. First, we have an investment personnel listing of who all is involved with the LGIP and its process, and there's quite a few people we have, and we have most of the people that do the day-to-day operations here with us on the phone. Stuart Williams is our director. Can you guys see the circular? You can, okay. Stuart Williams is our director. He is not on the phone today, I don't believe. He is on vacation. But then we have Neil Baggy, who is on the phone with us. He's our Chief Investment Officer. So if you ever have any questions about the portfolio, you could call me, or if you wanted to speak to Neil directly, you can speak with him. My name is Judy Milliron. I'm the Investment Operations Manager for Treasury. And Stacy Piercy is the LGIP Client Service Analyst, and she handles the day-to-day operations for the participants. David Back is an Assistant Investment Officer, and he assists Neil with the daily investment process. Kumari Neha is our Credit Analyst. I'm not sure if she's on today, but she's responsible for maintaining and monitoring the credit that we purchase in the portfolio. And then we have a new position. Elsa Evans joined us a few months ago, and she is an investment analyst, and she assists me with the daily operation. I just kind of wanted to go over the personnel. So everybody is pretty much on the phone that we have on this list, except for Stuart, who's our director, and Neha. But I do want to go over the LGIP circular with you. We just updated the circular as of June 30, 2024, so it's hot off the presses, so to speak. The Virginia Treasury has two programs for participants. The first program is the LGIP portfolio, and the second program is the LGIP Extended Maturity, or EM, portfolio. Dave Richardson is our state treasurer, and he oversees the operations of the Treasury. We have an advisory board, and that is the Treasury Board that meets typically once a month. I think we need to meet at least 6 times a year. but we report to them on a monthly basis. They oversee our guidelines, and our balances and our yields and so forth. Um, our custodian is State Street Trust and Banking Corporation. We just hired them and began utilizing them in October 1 of last year. And our new transfer agent is Northeast Retirement Services, and they provide transfer agent and shareholder services to our participants. We are audited by the Auditor of Public Accounts each year. Just going over the table of contents, I'm going to go ahead and review these sections. We have an overview which talks about, the introduction of the program, the statutory authority, as well as advantages of the LGIP and LGIP-EM. Our management and compliance section talks about, the investment management, our fees, our safekeeping policy, and so forth. And then we have our investment policies and guidelines. The first one will be for LGIP, and the second one will be for LGIP-EM. Once I review those, Stacy Piercy is going to take over, and she will discuss the participant information along with the LGIP application process. So basically, the Virginia Treasury administers the LGIP for its participants. Both the investment portfolios offer public finance officials the benefits of large-scale institutional investment management provided by the investment division of the Treasury. The LGIP is a stable net asset value fund, which means there is a dollar in, dollar out. We strive to maintain a dollar net asset value. We have daily liquidity, so if you call up by 10 o'clock and ask for funds, or say you're sending us funds, we will include that in the daily settlement, and we will either send out the funds to you via wire transfer, or we will look to receive the funds from you. The LGIP is a diversified portfolio, and it provides public entities with an investment alternative that seeks to minimize the risk of principal loss while offering daily liquidity, a stable net asset value, and a competitive rate of return. The LGIP is also rated AAA-M by Standard & Poor's. The LGIP-EM is a floating NAV fund with weekly liquidity. So and it has a 1 week redemption notice. So if you invested in the LGIP-EM and you needed funds, we're open every Wednesday. You call us a week before and let us know that you need funds, and we will send it out that next week. Or you can call up until Wednesday, 10 a.m. to let us know that you're going to be sending us money. I really want to focus more on the LGIP today, as the EM is, unlike the LGIP portfolio, which targets a stable net asset value fund. The EM portfolio targets a 1-year weighted average maturity to provide for additional yield. And as a result of the longer maturity, the value of the EM shares fluctuate with changes in the market value of the portfolio each day, and redemption of shares may result in a capital gain or loss. And only investors who can tolerate gains or losses on invested funds that are not needed for near-term liquidity should consider the LGIP-EM. The statutory authority for the LGIP, it was created by the General Assembly in 1980, and it was enacted, the LGIP Act, and it's sections 2.2-4600 through 2.2-4606 of the Code of Virginia. Now we're going to move on to the advantages of the LGIP. We are convenient. Participants own shares of a diversified portfolio. We also comply with all safekeeping requirements of the statute, as well as the Investment of Public Funds Act, and we comply with the government Accounting Standards Board or GADSB reporting standards. We provide same-day liquidity for LGIP participants. Our administrative costs overall are very low for you and are deducted prior to calculating the portfolio yield and prior to distribution of your earnings. Therefore, the fees are totally transparent to participants. We have online access through available 24/7 through two of our systems. The first one is the funds management system, and that is where you would go and record that you're going to sell shares or you're going to buy shares each day or each week or whenever you happen to need them. So you can do that online. You can also call us. It's really the participants' uh, it's really how they want to correspond with us that drives how we receive the information. Typically, most people like the online system and it works very well. But if you want to call up and call in your trades, we certainly take that as well. We offer an electronic data interchange, and that is where localities receive payments from the Department of Accounts from the state of Virginia, and those payments can be directed to be invested directly into the LGIP. And so instead of getting a check or getting an EDI into your account, it would automatically go to the LGIP. So if anybody's interested in that, we can certainly help set that up, and that's a process that DOA or the Department of Accounts handles. We also provide monthly statements, which are mailed by the 5th business day of the month, and they're also available online through our other online system, which is called the Commonwealth of Virginia Local Government Investment Pool Web Portfolio, or NRS. The LGIP is competitive. It offers a competitive rate of return relative to other portfolios with similar risks and maturities. Management and compliance. So the Treasury Board of Virginia is created by the Code of Virginia. It consists of the state treasurer, the comptroller, and the tax commissioner, as well as 4 citizen members that are appointed by the governor and serve at the pleasure of the governor. We just had a new appointment to the board, and that was the treasurer of Loudoun County. He will be coming in for member orientation next week, and he will serve on the Treasury Board. The state treasurer is responsible for the direct management of approximately $45 billion as of June 30th. And the state treasurer also provides other services to the citizens of the Commonwealth. And you guys might be familiar with unclaimed property. We do administer that program as well as security for public deposits. And we also administer and manage the Commonwealth's debt. The Treasury investment staff makes the investment decisions for LGIP and LGIP-EM. So that's going to be Neil and David on a daily basis coming in, determining how much cash we have, looking at investments for the day, and then selecting the best investment that meets our needs. And they are both on the phone, and they're also available if you ever have any question about a security that we own. Excuse me, I'm going to grab some water. I talked about the management fee for the LGIP, and we are very reasonable. The management fee for the LGIP is 4 basis points. So, for example, the annual fee for each $1,000 invested is 40 cents. The annual management fee for LGIP-EM is 8 basis points, or for each $1,000 invested, the annual fee is 80 cents. Excuse me. The annual management fee is the only fee that you will pay. And like I said, it's totally transparent because we deduct that from the earnings each day. So say that the portfolio is earning a 5.40%. the interest rate that we would give to the participants would be, I said 5.40. It would be 5.36%. Um, and that would be applied to your account each day. We do maintain safekeeping policies, and some of our safekeeping policies are whenever we purchase securities, the custodian will not release the funds to pay for that security until that security's been delivered to us, and that's called DVP. And all of the securities are held by our master custodian, and the ownership of the securities is vested in the Treasurer of Virginia. And the Global Custody Department of State Street Bank and Trust holds the LGIP and LGIP-EM securities in custody. The reason why I'm going through this circular is because as an authorized public official or those who are in charge of these funds, you are responsible for reading this circular and understanding it and signing off on the application once you determine that you'd like to open an account. So that's kind of why I decided to go through the circular this way. Next, we're going to touch on audit and compliance. And like I said before, we're audited each year by the Auditor of Public Accounts. They issue an opinion each year. We receive our financial statements about December 15th, and we post those on the website. So they're available to view if you like. The LGIP-EM presents monthly performance and compliance data to the Treasury Board. Our service providers, State Street Bank and NRS, both issue SOC reports, and they submit those reports to us to review each year. So we're making sure that they have adequate controls over their systems, and we have adequate controls over our systems to ensure that there's no fraud or no malfeasance. And that we're reporting reporting our financial statements to the best of our abilities. And the state offers, we are self-insured. This is just kind of a general insurance policy that handles and covers state individuals through the self-insurance program of the Risk Management Division in Treasury. So the next part is the portfolio, the LGIP investment policy. The investment policy that we currently are operating under was approved in 2017 by the Treasury Board. We haven't had a need to make any changes to the investment policy, but only the board can make changes to this investment policy that's within the circular. We do have plans to just revise this investment guidelines at next month's Treasury Board meeting, but that is just really kind of cleaning up some of the language in here. Fitch was added as a ratings agency to the code, so we need to add that into these guidelines, but nothing major. There's nothing major that we plan on changing. As we said, the LGIP is rated AAA by S&P. And we also manage the portfolio to the requirements of GADSB 79, which we have to have the following criteria met. The LGIP portfolio transacts at a stable value or $1 net asset value per share. We also have to follow the GADSB standard requirements for portfolio maturity, credit quality, diversification, as well as liquidity needs. We also shadow price the LGIP each week, and that is one of the requirements for the GADSB 79. The investment objective of the LGIP is to operate our primary objective is to operate in order of priority, to invest in securities that have safety of principal in mind, liquidity, making sure we maintain sufficient liquidity, and then return on investments is the last thing. So we would forego um, a higher interest bearing security if we felt that it wasn't going to meet the guidelines of safety of principal and liquidity. So, our primary objective is the preservation of principal with the LGIP. This section talks about the net asset value of the portfolios, and it just basically says that the LGIP strives to maintain a constant price of $1 and to monitor the extent of any fluctuations in the NAV. The LGIP portfolio is marked to market on a weekly basis, and we stress test the portfolio each week utilizing a stress test template that's provided to us by S&P and is a requirement of the S&P rating that we do this each week. The code allows, in the Secure Investment of Public Funds Act, for entities to invest in certain securities. And the authorized investments that the LGIP can purchase are similar to what the state purchases or their authorized investment as well. We invest in treasuries, agencies, repo agreements, negotiated certificates of deposits, corporate notes, commercial paper, municipal obligations. We do some dollar-denominated obligations of sovereign governments that have to be rated AAA and are fully guaranteed by any agency or any government, like we buy T-bills. So that would fall under that authorized investment category. We also buy World Bank or IBRD. We have fairly high credit quality standards. Most everything needs to be rated A1 plus or A1. And then the corporates, they're A1. Everything needs to be rated at least A1 and above. So it's all high quality paper. We don't buy A2, P2 paper at all. The portfolio is also diversified with no more than 4% of the value of the LGIP investments in securities of any single issuer. And we also have maximum percentages on our security types. We can buy 100% of the portfolio can be in treasuries agencies. Repos, we have a 50% maximum. And going down the list, commercial paper is 35. Corporate notes, we can have 25. Munis, 10. Obligations of sovereign governments, like those T-bills I spoke about, 10%. And World Bank, 5% of the can be in World Bank. For the LGIP, the weighted average maturity is 60 days or less. The weighted average to final is 120 days, or we really calculate that on a daily basis. Excuse me. And we need to keep the weighted average life in a certain range per the S&P rating. There's a maximum final maturity on any single non-government issue is 13 months. And then if we have a floating rate sovereign government, the maximum final maturity can be 2 years. So we are required to have daily liquidity of 10% of our portfolio. The weekly liquidity is required to be at 30%. And we're able to have 5% in illiquid securities, but I don't think we've ever had that since I've been here. There are risks to the LGIP, and they're kind of standard to any money market fund that you would invest in. There's interest rate risk, reinvestment risk, credit risk, call risk, liquidity risk. But we operate in a manner that is consistent with the AAA rated fund to ensure that the value of the portfolio is $1. The LGIP also has an operating reserve. It was established in 2015, and the purpose of the reserve is for the Treasury Board to have a resource to financially support the LGIP when the state treasurer determines that it's in the best interest of the fund to do so. The reserve is funded by annual contributions, and everything that's left in our fee account gets swept into the reserve. And so the reserve is authorized to accrue over time, and it can be up to 0.5% of the LGIP NAV. And currently, the operating fund has a balance of approximately $20 million. And that would be if, say, interest rates went negative, and we couldn't charge you to put your money here. So we needed some way to pay our fees. This is kind of the philosophy of the operating reserve and why it's there, so that we wouldn't have to, you guys wouldn't suffer any effects, or at least it would be able to support the LGIP through a financial crisis. That's our hope, anyway. We do stress testing each week, and the portfolio is marked to market each week, and we also determine a shadow price of the NAV, which is calculated weekly also, and it's to make sure that investments are measured and amortized costs are not significantly different from the fair value. And if the fund were to deviate by more than 0.5% from the NAV, we would have to notify the treasurer and the Treasury Board, and that would probably mean that I'm not really sure that we would have to make some determinations as to how we would navigate through that if our share price was to decline. Prohibitive investments, these are basically CMOs, inverse floaters that tie to interest rates that would increase or decrease based upon the movement of the Fed funds rate. IOs, POs, tranche securities, and futures and options we're not permitted to invest in. Our reporting is once a month, and it's to the Treasury Board, and we summarize the investments performance. We provide the stress tests. We provide other compliance information, and that report is posted on the Treasury's website each month. So if you wanted to go in and see what we were doing any one month, you could go in and look at our series of reports that we provide our board. Now, on the Treasury's website, we do post the 1-day yield and the 7-day yield, and Stacy posts that each morning. The 1-day yield refers to the income generated by your investment on that day, expressed as an annual percentage rate, and all of these rates are net of fees. And then you can see the performance of the LGIP over its benchmarks, which is the 3-month constant maturity and the iMoneyNet institutional index. And for the 5-year average period, we actually matched the 3-month constant maturity. But over the 5-year period, we earned a 2.28% net of fees. And then for fiscal year 2024, you can see that we earned a 5.46 for our participants. Whereas the 3-month constant was a 550 and the iMoneyNet was a 507. So, we constantly strive to be very competitive to other types of investments. Like if you guys went out and bought treasuries or agencies directly, directly and held them. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Stacy Piercy, who is the client service analyst, and she will talk to you about the participant information. Or do I have any questions? I know it's a lot of information. I kind of went over it fast. No questions then? Stacy, do you want to go over the participant information?
Sure. Good afternoon. Okay, so to establish an account with LGIP or EM, we would need a complete application, and I will go through that step by step so you can know the fields that are required.
Do you want me to show that now, or do you want to do that later?
Actually, yes, you can go on to it.
Okay. And this form is available on our website?
Yes. So this is our application form that we will need to establish an account. Um, it's pretty much self-explanatory. However, you will need your public entity name. There is also an option for an account name, and this is good when you establish additional accounts from your initial account that you open, so you can differentiate between the two. So example, you can have a reserve account, you can have a water fund account. This will actually give you an option to have your differences between your accounts. We will need your mailing address, and this is also the address that we will use to mail your monthly statements. Telephone number of your locality, your agency, tax identification number, and your fax number, email. We also have an option that we can consolidate all of your accounts if you have more than one into one statement. So you would just let us know, yes or no, you want to have them all in one statement, or you just prefer to have them separated. Now, the public official, we do not have any stipulations on who you name to be your public official. However, typically it's your treasurer, director of finance. However, it will be the person that is deemed the person responsible for the transactions, the delegation of authorized users on this account. Here we will also list whomever the public official deems authorized to do any transactions to deposit into the LGIP, which we call purchases or buys, and who is responsible for doing any withdrawals, which we call sales or redemptions of funds from LGIP. And we would need their contact information. All authorized users will have automatic access to our online system for statements powered through our vendor NRS. Now, if you scroll down a bit, you see here we have additional individuals only authorized to obtain public entities balances and interest information. So if you have maybe an office manager, an accountant who will need access to your balances, your transactions only, and not do any transactions, their name and contact information will be listed here, and they will get online access to our statements. Okay. This part is very important. So when we do, we take requests from you to have withdrawals, redemptions, we must have the bank account to transfer the funds to. We will only transfer via wire, and the account that we transfer to has to be into your agency's locality's name. So we cannot transfer to third parties, and we will require either a voided check, deposit slip, or a signed validation letter on your bank's letterhead. But we must have this information. We must have the original copy in the mail with a wet signature so we can set up this bank account. So whenever you need funds wired over, there wouldn't be any delays in that process. And you can have more than one account. Obviously, you see we have three areas here. So just as long as it's in your name and not a third party's name. This information here pretty much states that the public official is the one who has the power and the authority to give John Doe authorization to make these transactions. I state that this is true for our bank account. Pretty much just taking ownership of the LGIP account that you're establishing with us. And we would need you to sign off on this, and we would keep this for our records. Now, to establish a LGIP account, we do require a $1,000 deposit. And for our LGIP-EM, we do require 25,000 for a deposit. LGIP does have on a daily basis where you can do your transactions. As stated before, we will need to be notified by 10 a.m. each day of whatever transaction you're requiring or needing. Any transaction after 10 a.m. will be the next business day. For LGIP-EM, which is a weekly portfolio, will be transferred or done the next week. But when you need a redemption from LGIP-EM, we do need a week's notice to have that done. So a week prior to the day that you need the funds, you will need to let us know. For LGIP, it's a daily basis. Just let us know by 10 a.m. Let's see, what else do I want to cover? Judy did already cover that our statements are available online by the 5th business day each month. You have we do have a system where you can do your transactions. So we have a system called the Fund Management System, which is our FMS. It's open 24/7 whenever you want to put in your transactions. However, still keep in mind the 10 o'clock a.m. deadline. If we do have some participants who do not want to use that or just feel more comfortable calling us and putting in their transactions that way, which is totally fine. You can give us a call. We can enter the transaction on your behalf. Our online statement system, we will send that information to you via email with the link, your access ID, and you will create your own password. Let's see. Oh, and if you have any changes to staff, it's very important to submit a new application so we can give your new staff the access that they need to do transactions and to get statements, as well as deactivate the staff that's no longer with you. And I believe that's all I need to cover. We do have our newsletter that is sent out. Just to keep the communication of what's going on with the portfolios, let you know our performance and compliance. Our web postings, every day we update the website with our current yield information, as well as I do send out a monthly factor email that would give you what our daily yield is per day for that entire month. And I send that out at the beginning of the following month with our performance. And I believe that's it. Do you have any questions?
I see a question. What, if any, fees are applicable to the transfer, both buys and sells? There are no fees. The only fee that we have is the 4 basis point fee. We don't charge your bank might charge for wire transfers, but we don't charge anything extra relative to that. It's all inclusive.
I have a question. Stacy, you covered if we have changes in staff, but what if we have changes in our primary authorizing public official? If we have a board member who sets up all this paperwork, and then they change, and I should know the answer because I have an account with you and I think I've done this, but if somebody on the account is a board member, they're not a staffer, because we all operate under boards, and that person changes, what's the process to get that person removed?
So the same process will apply. You will send us an application with that replacement. And when you send us that application and you put the replacement name in there and that person that's left is not on this application, their access will automatically be deactivated. So the newest or the most recent application will pretty much will be the one that we will go on to update our records. So the same process will apply.
Does that make sense? So basically, anytime you have like an account change of individuals, your mailing address, your bank account, you would have to complete a new application and submit that information to us. If you have somebody that resigned, or obviously was perhaps fired, I would notify us immediately and we can manually just deactivate them from the system. And then we would need a new application at some point to update if you're going to hire a new individual.
But that new application needs to reflect everyone who still needs to remain on the account.
Exactly.
Not just the person who is
That's
coming off.
correct.
It needs to be comprehensive and show everybody that is to be remaining on that account.
Yes, ma'am. That's correct.
However, it's not necessary to submit the bank account information time and time again because we already have that on file. So only if you need to add a new account, we will request that, but you don't have to continuously send us the voided check, each time you update the information on the application.
So we have not started, but we will this fiscal year be kind of have a certification process where we get an authorized public official to certify that the information we have on our system is correct as of a certain date. So we used to do it manually and mail out, our systems and do it, via paper, but we are going to try and get some type of electronic certification set up this fiscal year for you guys. And we're also looking to be able to accept applications through another means, like not if it's DocuSign, it could be through the FMS system. So we are looking to try and go paperless because we realize a lot of times that getting those signatures and sending it through the mail is not as efficient as some other electronic mechanism.
I would like to insert that for those who would use the FMS system to let us know of any purchases that you will be making, that is very important that we have the funds the day of, not necessarily by 10, we have to be notified by 10 a.m., but at least by 3, 4 o'clock that afternoon, if we will have that wire the same day. We also will accept checks. If you mail us a check, just mail the check and we will enter the transaction or the purchase on your behalf and notify you that we have received it. However, when you use the FMS system, we really need the funds the same day or notify us as soon as possible if there's any changes with your bank or any issues so that we can ratify our account so we won't be overdrawn that day.
So we do have that 10 o'clock daily deadline. And then between 10 and 11, Stacy is usually trying to settle up her accounts and then sending the information to our service providers to get everything updated. So if you absolutely need to need something after 10 o'clock, feel free to give us a call. If we can help, we will, or we'll, schedule for another day. But we are very flexible. I don't know that I see any other questions on the chat. I haven't seen anything, but I just like to open it up now to general questions. And obviously, this is a lot of information. So if you wanted us to go over it individually with you, just feel free to give us a call or an email, and we can set something up to speak with you. I'm going to go ahead and put our, let's see, here is our contact information, which the LGIP's toll-free line, which is in Virginia, is 800-643-7800. The 804 number is 804-786-1156. And then my number, direct line, is 804-225-3167. And like I said, we're here and available to talk to you. And if we're not there, leave a message and we will get back to you. But typically someone answers the phone.
Shannon, if you go ahead and stop recording.